Now, because there's a world wide web, anyone in Zambia who's made it, you can aspire to be that person.
Protecting your money is just as important as saving.
They will use the convenience of money to avail discounts to save money.
Hey everyone, welcome to Dhan Ki Baat, an initiative by Times of India and Stock Grow. I'm your host Ankur Bariku, and with me is a fantastic panel comprising Arpit, Naveen and Nitin. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about something very interesting and something that I'm personally very passionate about, youth and financial literacy. So let me start with you, Arpit. How have you seen the demographic changed, particularly when it comes to financial awareness, the hunger or the need or the appreciation to start investing, taking charge of your money, understanding personal finance concepts? Do you feel that there's a shift at all? And if yes, what's the shift like?
I think it's pretty much influenced because of social media these days. Back in the days when there was no social media, people only used to hear stories of someone who's made it big by investing. Today, what we see is on every scroll, you see someone who has made it big. So it really, and that FOMO culture that has caught up, I think it makes a drastic effect on how people perceive their future life, how they want to aspire to do the same thing, if not do better than that. Another thing that I see that has changed a lot is back in the days, it was hard to find, it'll be like a few people who've made it. Now, because there's a world wide web, anyone in Zambia who's made it, you can aspire to be that person. It doesn't matter where the person is from.
Yeah.
And that obviously creates that motivation to move forward.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more with this. It's fascinating how the comparison set increasing has led to both, of course, good things and not so good things. But a good outcome of that is you always have an inspiration, and you don't have to find that inspiration in real life. There is somebody virtually sitting out there. You have a very interesting vantage point, Naveen, where you're not just an academic who's worked in this domain in some capacity, but you're also delivering this knowledge to young adults who are eager to know. Since you've been in this field for a while, how have you seen students behave and perceive financial literacy differently than what it used to be in the past?
I think one of the major changes that has happened right now, and I think this is part to do with the ecosystem, the number of financial instruments that are available right now is far more diverse. And I think it's catching up to the aspirations that young people have as well. And there are a couple of things right now. So I think passive saving is what all of us coming from mostly middle income families have been used to. Passive saving, save, 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 save. But I think now the youth is realizing that there's more to saving than just keeping money in the bank account.
Yes.
And there are instruments that they can match their aspirations with. I think there is a general general awareness that students are coming to with these instruments. But I think sometimes what also happens is that with this connected world that they are in, the aspiration mismatches are fairly, fairly large. And it makes them prone to taking risks to match those aspirations. I think most of the students now are fairly aware of the risk-return relation, but despite that, the aspiration, the pull of aspirations is fairly strong, and that makes them take more risk than is warranted.
Yeah.
So I think saving is important, diversity of financial assets is, they're aware of that, but I think a lot more needs to go into making them aware of the risks that are involved, right? And protecting your money is just as important as saving.
Yes, exactly. I will want to talk about risk and have a conversation around that, because I think you stress upon a very important point. Nitin, before we go there, you create content around finance. You're clearly helping a generation out there as well. What are some of the comments, reactions that you receive from your audience around finance? Are they receiving it well? Are they still thinking, no, let's get into the get rich quick schemes and this is all boring and who needs to understand this? What's the general demeanor?
I think it is a mix of both actually. But if I have to actually bifurcate it into the percentage, I think it is still 70-30. people who are less than 25, 26, I have seen that they have that adrenaline in them, and they don't understand savings or investments. They haven't started to understand it from that perspective. They are uh, on on the side that they should earn more. They should have big dreams. They would want to have aspirations, want to travel, want to have an iPhone, want to have a good car. So I think later when they are realizing कि मेरा income is not going to increase by the percentage that I was expecting when I was 23 or 24 or 25, and now I'll get some social responsibilities as well moving forward after 26, 27. I have to get married. Then they have started to, actually in their 20, 28, 29. And I'm talking about the people who are making below 10 lakh rupees.
Sure.
And this is most of the part of India today. So I get a lot of hate comments on things like when I made a video and I said people are going to Dubai doing skydiving. I have my brother, uska dost ne went to Dubai, did skydiving on an EMI. So people are commenting that so there is no problem with this. You should think about this. Our parents used to have that fundamental that jitni chadar utne pair. We should not live by this. So I think that is something where we need to understand, and that this comment has more than 1,000 likes.
Wow.
So that is one part of India, but then I think eventually after 28, 29, people start to think about investing. And best part is that information arbitrage has really gone down. It is ease of information because of the content creators like yourself and other also. I've recently entered in the content industry. So that has started to happen, because I'll tell you my story also. When I was young, so this is back in 2013-14. I also used to have this fundamental, entrepreneurship karenge, it will make a lot of money for me. So after my engineering, I pursued I was into a job and I left it just to pursue entrepreneurship. Good part. But I took credit cards when I was in my offices. So I didn't know what is 36% rate of interest. How much मुझे लगता था कमा लेंगे दे देंगे. It is nothing. What is 36%? कुछ भी नहीं है. iPhone ले लो, iPhone 6 ले लिया 55,000 rupees का. So it was like that, and I still see a lot of those things happening. And for me, it was that I entered into entrepreneurship and I learned for next 6-7 years a lot of things. That doesn't happen with everyone. So this is what I see in my audience. I see as people who are below 10 lakh rupees of income in India.
And a certain age.
At a certain age, of course.
Which I would concur with. I actually see the same process. Do you also have similar examples from the audience and individuals that you interact with, Arpit, where you would see a very clear divide, whether by maturity or by income or by past experience, and if so, how, what?
The way that I see it, it's very circumstantial. For youngsters, like the way that I see, most of them are 80%, I would say, are in the same rat race that we have to, like, you live only once. Like that is the motto of life. However, I do see still some people, even up to their 30s, 40s, some of them in their 50s too, still following through on the same principle.
Wow.
So these were people, obviously not this generation, but they've from the past. They've just been continuing on that. So I think for them it's more circumstantial, because maybe those responsibilities did not kick in, or maybe they just never took it upon them, and they continued with that same lifestyle. But those are, I would definitely say, minorities.
True.
Mostly is there in the youth today.
Yeah, and they just wisen up as responsibilities
grow,
and age come
exactly,
up. Yeah. One thing that I want to talk about with you, Naveen, is there is this entire generation that I think understands, if not fully appreciates, the need for investing, the need for saving first, and then of course putting your money to use. But I don't think there's enough content and awareness and appreciation about how do you manage your money in the first place. Like, to the point that Nitin was saying, and he's not alone in saying, no, when you're less than 25, credit has become so readily available. Literally at the click of a button, you can get any amount you want. you don't fully understand what 36% means. You don't fully understand what minimum amount due is, like a lovely seductive piece, and it will allow your credit card to be consistently functional, and your loan apps are coming in and so on. There's this lack of awareness around what credit means, especially when it comes easy. So zero cost EMI, convert this in there. I remember you mentioning that you've done some work around this. Have you seen anything in your experience of lack of awareness, or at least willingness to learn about credit and how they impact their lifestyle and their expenses?
I think there are a couple of caveats before I say anything. I think the first thing is that the current generation faces a very different job market than probably our generations or people who are starting off in the job market in the 2000s. It's a very, very different environment. Now, most of the middle class and upper middle class youth that we probably are talking about, we are not talking about the youth in the rural areas. They have their problems are very, very different. But at least for this very small population that we are talking about, they've seen their parents, a lot of them in the services, earn reasonably well. And when they enter the job market, they can't even probably reach 1/10 of that level. It's to be honest, very, very hard. The job market is really hard, really competitive. The expectations are phenomenal. Now, they come from the comfort of their middle income, upper middle income families, hard-earned savings. They're banking on that. So they know that they can take a little bit more risk that probably somebody 15 years ago couldn't. Because they knew that if I defaulted on a loan, I'm done for. And I won't be able to bank on my parents to bail me out. So that is probably what is also showing up in probably callous borrowing behavior, because they know that they have a backup. Right? They know that they don't have to be liquid through and through, because they can bank on their parents to bail them out. Now, having said that, I think the sort of callous credit behavior is real, but I think that's for a very limited age group. Right? But I think as people grow older, they see the benefits of being more responsible with their lending. For example, I think a lot of students and young people are now aware that when you take a loan on a credit card, you need to be on time. When you borrow on your credit card, that affects your credit score. And your credit score is very critical in your ability to borrow. So you will not be able to borrow as much at the click of a button at a reasonable interest rate if you don't have a credit score. I think that's a new awareness. Being able to borrow easy is, that's fine, but also having a good credit score is becoming very real in the minds of young people. And they know that that's linked to all the credit transactions that they're going to have in the future. That realization is real. So I think the youth is maturing in understanding how they borrow, but I think it's always a mixed bag. So there will be some people who will be borrowing callously, but there'll be others who will see credit in a very different way.
Okay. Yeah. I'd love to have a world where the CIBIL score is like a status symbol. Like,
indeed.
I'm 850. What are you? It's like, I remember there was a time, this is completely digressing, where I didn't even know for the longest time that the drivers of Uber rate us as well. So all of us have a Uber rating, and suddenly that became a phenomenon. Like, what's your Uber rating? What's your Uber rating? Imagine that happening with the CIBIL score, but completely concur with that. But going back to, Nitin, the point that you make, and it was a very interesting point, that despite all the awareness, all the well intentions and everything, you still led a very different young life, which, let's use the word, was slightly misguided, and now you're wiser and you're, of course, helping others not make the same mistakes as you did. Is this a financial literacy problem, or is it just an age problem? Does it matter how much we want to talk about it? Because people in their 20s will just behave the way they have to, like the way the teenagers behave the way they have to. What's your point of view on that?
I think it has a lot to do with the upbringing also. it has a lot to do with that also, because I have a couple of friends. So I'll compare myself with my wife. Okay, see, I'm from a Brahmin family, raised in Delhi, in a service class background, government service class background, where you don't see yearly hikes so often, right? So we come from a fundamental where again कि छोटी छोटी चीज़ों में will save for today for a better tomorrow, right? But as a kid, you see fancy cars, है ना? You see good things when you are in your teenagers, or even before that, after 10, age of 10, let's say, and then you go to a good school, and you see other people having a better lifestyle than yours. So it kind of, it is the upbringing that one is your home, another one is your school, and there is a disparity between both the lifestyles that you are only living, right? So that is one. People like these will tend to make more expenses once they are in their 20s and start earning. वो नया पैसा वाली जो बात होती है, that starts to happen. Now if you talk about a business class person like my wife, so understanding the CIBIL score and all of that, I was thinking about it. She functions very differently. People who they have been raised like that, so they will use the credit card to avail the offers. So that is again a great thing. They will use the convenience of money to avail discounts, to save money. So that is one part, right? I'll give you another anecdote. She was ordering one pair of shoes from Ajio. She saw Skechers for 5,000 rupees, 5,200, 5,000 rupees. Before that, she checked it on Myntra. So any impulse buyer would buy it from Myntra. मैंने देखा, मैंने खरीद लिया, 5,200 रुपए का जूता घर पे आ गया. She checked it on Ajio. She checked that Ajio is charging 100 rupees more as convenience, and Myntra is only charging 19 rupees. She came to me asking me कि तेरा phone दिखा. She called her brother to ask him कि तेरा दिखा. So she got that 100 rupees discount also. She spent 15-20 minutes in this. But this is the habit that has been created. Say, when they were, while they were being raised. So I think thoda sa aisa chalta hai. But in Delhi, I've mostly seen people who are from service class background. They are highly driven by the status and social media being foundation of it. Status is driving, and the convenience of time, energy, and money is there.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. As we come to the end of the conversation, here is a interesting question. I'd love to hear your answers for this. Let's say through a magic wand, you had the ability to address every Indian in their 20s, and they heard you for 30 seconds. What is the message around financial literacy that you would give them? Right? Every 20-year-old or those in their 20s in India, they would hear you for 30 seconds. What's that one message that you would want to give them? Anything at all. And whenever you're ready. Yeah, Arpit.
Very simple. I've always been saying this, and a lot of my people in my community give me a very big stare when I said, give your children a credit card. They're like, what?
Wow.
Why would I do that? It's like, because you are trying to impose your financial thoughts, feeling and emotions on them, which they're never going to abide by.
Absolutely.
However, if you teach them practically how to manage money, they will come off better than you.
Yeah.
So if someone uses, so let's say you get these days RuPay wale credit card bhi aate hain.
Correct.
So you take that card. So literally everything you're going to spend on, you can do it via credit card, which means you're going to get a statement at the end of the month.
Correct.
This statement is what the only 10-15 minute conversation a parent needs to do with their child and nothing else. Just observe how they're doing it. While they're doing it, the child naturally becomes a better money manager, because the idea of financial education is eventually what? A better money manager. If you learn it practically by doing it, it changes the entire paradigm.
I love that.
And then the child can reflect upon the decisions they've taken in the last month.
Yeah.
And simple things like setting up an auto debit, making sure that the credit limit is equal to the average bank balance.
Yeah.
If such things are put into place, this is the foundation on which better money management will follow through in the times to come.
Fantastic.
Obviously, investing in other things is just in due course.
Yeah.
But this is the
I
base,
love
I would
it.
say.
I'm copying this. My son's 13, and when he hits 15, I'm like, Arpit uncle said so. Yes. Naveen, go ahead.
So I think what is critical, earning, saving, protecting your money is all critical. But I think one of those financial principles which is extremely important is budgeting. Right? Budgeting, you'll have several needs, both short run and long run. All your financial planning starts with budgeting. You may have a zero earning, but you can still budget. So that's one thing that everybody needs to know and needs to work on, maintaining regular budget. I'm not very good at it, right? But I think this is one thing that's essential. And as you grow older, you realize how important budgeting is. Creating clear plans, long run, short run, and how do you finance them is important for you to understand how much you should earn, what are the instruments that you need to invest in, how much you should save, how much you should put aside for consumption, conspicuous, normal, everything, right? So budgeting is critical.
Fantastic. I love that answer. Great. Nitin.
I think 30 seconds are too short first. So I'll create another reel on any of the thing that these guys mentioned or anything that comes.
That's awesome. What will be the title of the reel?
It could be anything. I mean, it could be budgeting also. It could be teaching. I would just see. It is, as I said, it has a lot to do with how you have been raised, and every individual is very different. There is no advice that I would want to give to anyone because my advices won't work for anyone, right? Even if the fundamentals are right, even despite of that, right? So I would only, what I could do, I will do that. I'll create another reel of 30-40 seconds and koi kahani usme suna di or some fundamental. So yes.
Very nice. Well, personal finance is personal for a reason. I agree with that. On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen. This was lovely. I'm so glad that we had this conversation. And thank you for joining in. Dhan Ki Baat, an initiative by Times of India and Stock Grow.